So I was looking for something interesting for the 40th anniversary of Mario, and I was thinking, hey, you know what would be really cool and really quick and something that really wouldn't be inconvenient, but somehow it turned out being? Mario Paint. So with that being said, I kind of had to ask the question of, is Mario Paint worth it? Especially since NSO decided to re-release it. In reality, this isn't like, I'm gonna be honest with you, this isn't really like a video reviewing Mario Paint. It's more or less of reviewing Mario Paint on NSO. Because, like, I think that's more interesting because Mario Paint is a weird and hard concept to talk about. So with that being said, let's get into the episode. So the story of Mario Paint is Mario decided to wake up one day and said, hey, I don't have enough jobs, so he decided to become an artist. No, that's not actually what happened. There is no story of this game. I just felt like not having a story segment feels weird. So I normally do that if there's not like a relevant enough story, but like I just wanted to make some bullshit up. So with that being said, let's move on to gameplay. Gameplay of Mario Maker is very hard to describe because there's so many things that you can do in this game. There's animation, there's drawing obviously, there's fly attack, there's music, and there's just a whole bunch of stuff that you can do creatively. 90% of it I'm not doing. I am not talented in any way, nor do you have to be to play Mario Paint and get enjoyment out of it. The most you'll see from me actually is the coloring book, because that's fun. I wish there was more coloring books actually. The Super Nintendo, was kind of limited, so it makes sense that they didn't have more coloring books, but especially for how much is on this game. But as a person that is not creatively gifted, or better yet, a person that is unwilling to learn, I feel like you could still get enjoyment out of this game. And I feel like it is a little bit limited, but let's be honest here, this is on the Super Nintendo, right? Like, you know, like, heck, whatever. When it gets right down to it, this game is perfectly fine and as creative as you wish it to be. It's a game that clearly Nintendo doesn't want to let go of. After all, we have DK Artist and, you know, references to it in, like, Mario Maker. That's more presentation, but, like, that's kind of how much I have to stretch this segment because, like, there's not really much I could say. Realistically, your enjoyment comes from you, and I think that that's great. The only thing I really have to say is, realistically, coming down from a technical standpoint, the game itself feels better on the Switch 2, right? This game was released recently on NSO for the Switch 2, and it's interesting because it's one of the first times where I've openly noticed that this is the better version, in my opinion, according to feel, than the Super Nintendo version. This is all opinion. I have no honest clue. But as a person that has played them both versions and recently played the original, I do actually like how the Joy-Cons or mouse works. My biggest issue with the Joy-Cons is I know Nintendo really wants to push it as a mouse, but it's just not as comfortable as a mouse. And I feel like there's almost no excuse. With this one, they should have actually released a mouse. The reason why I say this is because Nintendo made the mouse initially in the 90s. Why didn't they just make one for NSO? Right? They already did that with the controllers, GameCube, Nintendo 64, NES, and Super Nintendo, and also Genesis, but I don't know if you want to count that. So why not make a mouse? I understand that, like, that'd be crazy for one game, but the mouse was used for more than one game on the Super Nintendo. I have no clue if they'd ever be released. I don't even know all of them. There's more than I thought, but, like, at the end of the day, the controls that the Switch 2 has, it feels better. It feels smoother. It feels like a modern mouse, where the other one is a ball, and it feels like it. It also felt like the original game ran on more of like a grid, so your drawing was more limited. I remember not being able to draw a good circle. Once again, I am not creatively gifted. This would probably be better for somebody that, like, actually knows how to draw, and somebody that actually knows how to use a mouse too for drawing. I actually know people. I just don't know why I didn't ask them. It's whatever. For somebody that, once again, is not creatively gifted, I feel like it's still fun, and if anything, I do like the smoothness of the Switch 2 version. But I feel that at the end of the day, it's good either way you play it, right? So with that being said, let's move on to presentation. I feel like it's kind of hard to sit and talk about the presentation of an art game because it really kind of feels like it's up to you, but there is a definite aesthetic to Mario Paint. I say this because Mario Maker and Mario Maker 2 definitely borrow a lot of this aesthetic, and it's something that definitely does last. Musically, specifically, there is a presentation to it, and it's outstanding. Once again, nothing new for Nintendo games. music is kind of a thing that I feel like a lot of Nintendo games do a great job at, but Mario Paint definitely does feel like a great game to paint to. It uses music in a amazing way to get you inspired. As somebody that, once again, cannot draw, I'm going to hammer this in. Every drawing you see here is my wife. I'm going to keep saying this, but as a person that just cannot draw, it does inspire me to. And it does make doing the coloring books and just really chilling and relaxing great. I love the save music. It's just really great. It's nice and catchy. And all in all, I think that presentation-wise, it's really up to you, right? It's up to what you can do with, you know, the art. Now, once again, this is very limited. There's not as many colors as many other art programs and yada yada, but I feel like that's very well known. This is a Super Nintendo game. With that being said, let's move on to accessibility. So when it gets right down to it, Mario Paint is a game that is requiring a mouse and a mouse pad, more or less of the mouse. You don't really need the mouse pad. It's a trackball. Like, you don't really need it. It makes a smoother experience, but like, whatever. And this game is normally sold together. When it's not, fuck you, honestly. Like, don't do that. Like, I know there's an aftermarket mouse, and I normally know that I'm not, like, that rude about it, but I feel like at that point, just donate the game, dude. Like, you shouldn't be selling it, especially since people do sell it for prices. And I'm not gonna say what the prices of those are. No, don't do that. Don't sell it without the mouse, at least. Come on, man. Anyways, with the mouse, normally the game will set you back about $20 to the occasional $30, and boy, do I not think that's worth it. If you're somebody like me that's into, like, collecting this kind of stuff, absolutely, the price is great, especially $24, right? I got this game for even less back in the day, but I feel like, yeah, that's perfectly fine. The biggest issue, though, is that I also do not honestly see the point of buying this game nowadays, because if you own a modern Nintendo console, such as a Switch or a Switch 2, you are able to play this game through NSO, which is about the same, right? Except you get a whole bunch more games. So I just rather recommend doing that, right? So at the end of the day, I don't really see the purpose unless you're somebody that's collecting it. And so, yeah, that's really good. The thing that really sucks, though, is that I'm still upset about it. Not like it matters, but Nintendo has not released an official mouse. I don't think that it's gonna happen, and I also don't think it needs to happen, once again, but, like, maybe even just for somebody like me, just make a Nintendo-themed mouse. My computer setup is that way. My keyboard is an 8-bit DOE retro keyboard that looks like the Famicom, so why not just release an official USB, you know, mouse Nintendo? I know that, like, it's kind of useless, but if you guys are insisting on us using a mouse properly, why not actually, you know, I don't know, make a better peripheral? Anyways, I'm tired, guys. With that being said, let's move on to the goods and the bads. This is one of the most creative games that Nintendo made for the time, and it's still one of the most creative games that they've made to this day. I think that it's a game that I keep expecting them to make in the modern day, which really does not make any sense. After all, computers are so prevalent and softwares like this are so common that Nintendo does not need to make one, but I do think it'd be really cool to see them do it. Nintendo has never really moved on from this game. They've always had some way or form of continuing this game, and it makes sense. This game, if you are a person that is an artist, will definitely enjoy it. It's fun, it's cute, it's kind of hard to bat for this game in the modern day, but I feel like it's definitely fun and nice to have on hand just to doodle around with. I remember playing this game just to do that with my wife and my kid, and now it's easier to do. I don't have to drag out the Super Nintendo every time I wish to do this. I know that it's not as, like, comprehensive as other painting apps, but God, is it just fun to have this, especially since it came out at such a time where not everyone had a computer, right? Or not everyone had the software to do this, I guess. So with that being said, I think that it was really cool to have this. Very odd, probably back in the day, to get a game with a mouse and a mouse pad, but it still probably was super cool back then. I don't exactly know. I don't know where people are on this game, but I do think that it's interesting to talk about this game. It's a part of Mario history that is definitely interesting, and it's why I'm talking about it for the 40-year anniversary thing. Too bad I'm tired for this video. With that being said, let's move on to the bads. I don't exactly know how to judge this one on the goods or bads, because realistically there's a part of me that's like, oh well, I don't like the color palette in this game, I don't like how it doesn't have expansive colors, blah blah blah, but who the fuck cares, right? But like, who actually cares, right? Because like, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. This game is old, right? Like, whatever complaint I have about this game would be remedied if they made a new one, but they don't have to, and they probably won't. I could say that the music is limiting, I can say that there's so much, but even then, I think that there is a fan game that does this. I remember, or at least something similar to it. I remember back when I was, you know, younger on YouTube, I used to see Mario Paint music things going around that either was them being spliced together, or it was somebody that made an app that was very similar and can make longer arrangements. And there's probably something like that on the internet for all of these, right? Mario Paint is a game that is old enough to the point of where whatever complaints I can have either comes down to, yeah, it has that, but who cares? Or, yeah, just go to another app, right? Like, that's really all that it comes down to. And I don't know, I feel like that's kind of how the cards fall. The only thing I can really complain about is the fact that Nintendo just absolutely is like, hey, you can use the Joy-Con 2s as a mouse. You sure can, but God, does my hand cramp when I do it. It just doesn't feel super comfortable. And I hate to say that because, like, I feel like part of me wants it to be, but it just isn't. I don't think, for me personally, the Joy-Cons are super comfortable. Heck, my wife did all the drawings and she said that there was disconnections all the time, and it's just, I feel like having a mouse is better. And I feel like that just comes down to the Joy-Cons design. The idea of them using a mouse is okay. It's something that I don't think is 100% necessary. It is something I think is nice, but maybe to make the Joy-Con 2s more comfortable in their design, I feel like it's a detriment to that more than anything else. But outside of that, the game itself is Mario Paint, and the fact that if you decide to play it and then you go, oh, I don't have as many colors as another app, it kind of becomes a, yeah, no shit, this is a Super Nintendo cartridge, what do you expect? I think that there's way more good than there is bad. So with that being said, let's move on to the final thoughts. So with all that being said, does Mario Paint hold up? I don't know. Like in all honesty, I have no clue. I feel like it's fun, right? It's fun, it's a nice little novelty, but I don't know if it's a game that's like really worth your time in the time and age that we're in now. Like, at some point, I think it'd be fun, and it's really cool, and it's really interesting, and it's super impressive for the time, but like, I don't know, it's Mario Paint. I'm at a weird place, and I hope that I kind of conveyed that throughout this episode, because like, I guess I'm not the person to talk about it. I wasn't there when Mario Paint was a thing, right? So like, I don't know, it's hard to tell where people are with this game. I just thought it was an interesting thing to talk about for Mario's 40th anniversary, so I don't know. This video took way longer than I wanted it to. This was supposed to be out like a long time ago, but it wasn't. So with that being said, you tell me if you think Mario Paint is worth it. I don't even know if people are gonna watch this one, so this is exclusively an obligation episode in reality. So that being said, I'll see you guys next time when we actually get deep into, hopefully, no more delays. Because the next one is the big one, where we actually celebrate Mario's 40th.